What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Beers with Brando. And today, Beers with Brando presents Spiderman No Mames Way Home. So, as the holidays coming, everything's coming, closing in 2021. Man, this year flew by quick. I just remember the Orange Man doing the state of emergency last year, and now look where we are. It's going to be 2022. Halloween just passed. Thank you guys if you guys tuned in to my Graveyard Smash episode. It was received well. A lot of people liked it who did watch it, so thank you for those who did. So like I said, holidays are coming. A lot of things are coming. One thing that's coming for sure, besides me later, Spider-Man. And many of you guys know I'm a big MCU fan. I watch all the movies, try to go to all the premieres, or at least within opening weekend. And I just saw the Internals. Was really good. I really recommend. Rotten Tomatoes is stupid. If you think, I don't understand the negativity towards that movie. It was really good. It's not the best movie in the world, and it doesn't crack my top 5, but it's still a good movie. And if you're watching the MCU, you're gonna have to watch it anyways, because somehow everything all connects. It only leads to one direction. Anyhow, I don't know if you can hear my brother in the back. He's excited. But yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home's coming. Many rumors, many things circulating that Tobey Maguire, Andy Garfield, or did I get it right? Fuck. That Garfield guy. They're gonna reprise the roles for the upcoming movie, as well as villains. Obviously, we saw Alfred Molina in the first trailer. Yesterday or the day before, they released a poster, and you can see the Green Goblin in the back, the 2002 William Dafoe version. So there's a lot of excitement towards this movie, and I know I'm one of those guys that is really looking for. I'm counting the days to December 16. Movie comes out 17, but you bet your ass I'm watching it on the 16. So me and my best friend German, we decided maybe we should do some on here to get ready for the movie. But as he was talking to me, he was telling me that his girlfriend Kay and her sister have never seen any of the original movies. And it's been a while since I have honestly seen a lot of the Tobey movies. I don't even think I've seen the second Garfield movie. I know Jamie Foxx and God knows who else comes out. I haven't seen it. So I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to, if we got us all together and we kind of rewatched all the movies together. So, I've seen it, German's seen them, but his girlfriend Kay and his sister-in-law Maggie have never seen them. So this episode, we're just going to briefly talk about each movie. We're going to talk to the girls in German about what we expect of it, we're watching it, or for the girls, the first time watching it, a reaction after. And they're going to go all the way up to the second Garfield movie, since they've already seen the Tom Holland movies. So once we get to the end of the Zoom meetings, we're going to have one more. And then we're going to talk about, we're going to preview No Way Home. All right. So guys, sit back, relax. I hope you guys enjoy this. Before we get started, if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe to this channel. Follow the Instagram page at Beers with Brando _ because some asshole already has the name. I'm gonna change that soon. A lot of things are changing for this pod. A month ago I didn't think I'd be doing video, and here we are. So big news coming soon in regards of future podcasting. And yeah. Also, if you guys haven't, check out the short film that I did with the Rebels guys from my film production class. Really good guys. We did really good on this film. You guys check it out. Also, check out the director's cut. All right, guys. Let's get it. So, up first, Spider-Man 1, 2002. Okay, guys. So, we are here. And we have a long journey to go. You could say long way home. Ha ha ha. That was fucking lame. Anyways, so Spider-Man 1. Why are you laughing at me? I thought that was good. Jesus. All right, so Spider-Man 1 came out in 2002. Director Sam Raimi. Everybody knows who played Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire. William Dafoe, Kirsten Dunst, and James Franco. This movie made $139 million, which is not that bad. And according to Rotten Tomatoes, it's a 90%. Can you believe that?
I actually can't believe that. That's surprising.
That's a lot higher
That's
than
a lot
I didn't think it was gonna be no damn 90. I thought like 78 or something. But of course the ladies haven't seen
solid
it.
60.
Yeah, I mean, I told you I had a. Well, we'll get into that. But okay, so Katie and Maggie, what made you guys want to do this?
The podcast episodes there.
Yeah, or just watching the original Spider-Man movies. What made you guys want to jump on board with German?
Well, for me, it's mostly just to maybe understand what has German like so hooked on them, and like, because he's been talking nonstop about how Tobey might be in the new Spider-Man movie, so I just want to understand why.
And you, Maggie?
For me, it's just curiosity. There's no real reason.
That's all good. Yeah, no. I
too much free time.
With these Tobey movies, I'm like, there were the first Spider-Man movies that came out when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, these are great, but I was a little hesitant doing this, but I don't know, German either bit me or something bit me, but I got the Spider-Man bug now, and everything is Spider-Man everything right now. So, German, what is your first memories of watching this movie? Where did you see this? Do you remember?
Well, as you said, 2002, my nuts hadn't even dropped yet. So,
they still haven't.
It was they dropped. They dropped. I can say Tobey Maguire is the reason why my balls dropped. There, I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm sure he'd be flattered to hear that.
Upside down
Tobey,
too.
If you ever see this recording, thanks, man. But
I hope he does.
I truly hope he does. No, but my cousins were always the one that had like DVDs and shit, so they always got like the newest movies and things like that. So I remember just watching it, and it was, like for what it was at the time. Now you watch it and things like CGI and things like that, obviously not as great as right now, but back then, man, it just like blew my mind. And even before like the movies came out, as a kid, I always liked like Spider-Man, and I had like little Spider-Man figures and things like that. So when I actually got to see it, like, in the movie, for me, it was like, it was like a whole new thing. It was really cool. And I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, because I remember, around that time, 2002, if I do the math, I was 8 years old. The only really other superhero movies that came out, I think, were the Batman ones. I remember my time before Spider-Man, my favorite Batman movie, superhero movie was Batman Forever, the one with George Clooney and the bat nipples. I think that's called Batman and Robin. Yeah, I think I remembered. But I remember I saw it opening weekend specifically, and I remember because kids were bragging that they saw it before me, and I was like, "Fuck, Dad, what the fuck," But I remember specifically. Okay, so we saw it at the movie theater where we used to live, and it was literally like walking distance. So we used to always walk to the movie theaters. But I remember specifically my dad ordering a shitload of food for us because it was a matinee. It was like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And this dude, when you walk into the movie theater, that little hallway up before you hit the little ramp. This dude had about a whole box full of food. And he's walking up, and we could see his shadow walking in. And he throws some horns up, he's like, yeah. And then you can see him literally dump the food. Like, he drops the whole fucking thing of food. $45 worth of food. He was pissed, dude. If you remember, my dad was fucking pissed. But they ended up...
Which, $45 worth of movie theater food. It was probably a soda and a hot dog.
Well, back then, this was 2002, so it probably was a whole fucking feast back then. Now it's probably two sodas and a hot dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very add some popcorn
Yeah,
with them Regal points.
when me, Brianna, and my dad, we went to go see Halloween. Yeah, we paid. Goddamn, I went to see Eternals and I bought a beer. They paid me $11. They charged me $11 for a fucking
You
tall
bought a
can.
beer at the movie theater. Price they should have charged you 20 for being so stupid.
It was a long ass movie, man. But I fucked up though because I had to pee like 45 minutes in, and I knew the end credits were gonna be good. And then
You know what? Eternals was surprisingly long. I enjoyed it. You know, it was different, but it surprised me halfway through it where I was like, I feel like there's still so much to happen. Yeah, it was pretty long.
Yeah, to me it didn't feel that long though. Like, I mean, I know it was long, but it didn't feel that way.
It wasn't.
It was good. I like it.
Nothing will ever be as Endgame long. It's just they needed a backstory, and I think they did it right. It was a little confusing the first flashback. I'm like, oh, this is, eventually they would put the caption or whatever, but that was it. All right, but moving on to Spider-Man. So I'll start with you ladies, Maggie and Kate. What are your expectations for this? Not having seen this, and this is the first time probably. I know you guys said you might have seen it in pieces, but what do you guys expect? How do you think this Spider-Man is going to be presented compared to like Tom Holland, the way he was?
Well, I mean, based on what German has told me and what I've kind of like heard is that he is a lot like, I guess he's portrayed as a lot nerdier than like the other Spider-Mans. So I mean, I'm excited to see that and see, I mean, how differently he is compared to like Tom Holland and what's that again? Andrew Garfield.
Don't matter.
Man. Yeah, his middle name's Other Guy. Andrew Other Guy Garfield.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I watched like one of those with Andrew Garfield, and I mean, he was kind of portrayed as like this cool guy. So I mean, I'm interested to see how different.
I remember seeing the first one, but I can't tell you exactly what happened or whatever. I can't even tell you what happened in part 2, honestly. So I'm looking forward to that. You, Maggie, any expectations for you?
Well, I haven't heard anything about this movie.
So you're really going into this blind. You have no idea who.
Pretty much. I mean, what was the year? 2002? I was 1. Like,
that makes sense.
I was not. Anyways, I don't know. If anything, how old was Tobey Maguire during this? If anything, I'm just expecting them to really push on the fact that like this is a young person.
He was really young. He was really young
old
in this movie, but I can't tell you how much old he is, but he's still pretty young now. I mean,
he was like not too young though. He was already pretty.
He was like his 20s.
He doesn't look like he's 20.
Isn't Spider-Man like a teenager? Like, I'm sorry, but that's
no. He is a teenager. Technically, Spider-Man is supposed to be a teenager. So, yeah, he is. And you're gonna see like what Kay mentioned about German. Yeah, this first Spider-Man, as far as origin of how he became, I think it's closer to the comics than any of the other ones. But yeah, that's crazy. You're gonna go into this blind. I thought you probably had at least seen a little bit, but that's interesting though. All right, so Spider-Man 1, we're gonna meet up again after you guys see it. And actually, before we get to that, German, what do you expect watching it again the first time in God knows how long?
You know what? It's been I don't have the exact amount of years, but it's been a very long time since I've seen Spider-Man like 1, or really any of them, to be honest. Like it's been a while, especially like sitting down with like, maybe we're not gonna watch together, but with like you guys and stuff, like actually sitting down to watch it and like pay attention, enjoy the film, whatever. It's been a long time, but obviously I know that it's probably gonna be some parts of it are gonna be cheesier than I remember.
I am not looking forward to that. I'm just gonna be like this the whole time.
Yeah,
cringing,
Yeah, because for what it was at the time, I enjoyed it. Obviously I was younger, but it seems like a lot of people enjoyed it, and it was obviously the first like Spider-Man movie. So it gave us a lot for what it was at the time. But now I'm expecting maybe some things that I remember as being like the CGI and stuff. Obviously, it's gonna be very corny. I'm expecting, but it was probably great for the time. Looking forward to William Dafoe's acting again as the Green Goblin, because I think he did like an amazing job. And if everything is good, I'm expecting.
No, sorry. Just laughing at the goblin.
You're good.
Thick Goblin.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can't tell our name here is a Thick Goblin. I know Katie's very excited to see the Thick Goblin in action as well. She loves that meme where he's like flying after Spider-Man and he got a big old booty.
I haven't seen that.
But-
You gotta send it. Send it to me so I can post it like right now. But yeah,
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
yeah. But
I'm looking forward to his performance.
they just confirmed that the Green Goblin in No Way Home is going to be from 2002. So it probably will be William Dafoe. I mean, who else would it not be? But they confirmed that the Goblin in the new poster is 2002 Green Goblin.
It better not be no one else. I'm gonna be real fucking pissed about that.
Yeah, right.
But,
I mean, with the exception of well, we'll get there. But yeah.
But I
Okay.
remember as a kid, I mean, he was kind of scary. Like his performance, there were times where like it kind of scared me, you know. And there's some parts in the movie that I kind of remember there were some jump scares, which now it's probably not like scary at all. But I mean, he had an amazing performance, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing him in No Way Home. You know, it's just him among all the other people that we'll cover at some point in these episodes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And of course, the MVP, my boy, Tobey Maguire.
I hope
What can I say, bro?
I hope these movies live up to the hype again. So, all right. So we will meet up again after you guys and girls will see Spider-Man 1, and then we'll talk about Spider-Man 2 after. Okay. So we are going to part now. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in a bit. And for all the viewers, we'll see you in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So Spider-Man 1. Wow. Yeah, it was definitely more cringe than I thought. But I mean I did like it. I'll get to that in a bit. So let's start off with Kay and German. What did you guys think rewatching Spider-Man 1? Or watching it, depending on who I'm asking.
You go first.
Okay. Well, I mean, I realized that I didn't remember, I guess, as much as I thought I did. Like, I only remembered like some of like the key moments kind of thing. Like, obviously, like the classic like kissing in the rain or whatever. And I remembered the cafeteria scene a little bit.
Okay.
Where he catches the tray and stuff. But yeah, I didn't remember a lot of it. But I mean, I liked it. I still don't. I mean, I feel like I could have liked it more, But I don't know if it's because I don't have really like that like nostalgia factor. I don't know.
Okay,
but,
no, I see what
it
you're
was
saying.
good. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but
So,
Okay.
is there anything that you think would have made it a little better for you? Because you mentioned you don't have the nostalgia factor, which obviously it's fine. But is there anything that you think you would have liked to see in this first Spider-Man movie?
I don't know about seeing, but I don't know. I think it had to do somewhat with like some of the acting. Sometimes I thought it was like a little like with mostly with like Tobey Maguire, but I mean I don't know. I just have something against Tobey Maguire, but no, but yeah, I don't really think there was like anything like that I can pinpoint.
His crying face.
Yeah,
She thinks it's absolutely hideous. And when she was mentioning that she remembered iconic scenes, one of them was Aunt May praying on the end of her bed and getting blown.
Yeah, the meme.
Yeah, there were some parts there. Like I knew there was jump scares, and I'm like, really? I don't remember this part, but yeah, I felt the same. I was like, oh, okay, it was fun watching some of it, but then sometimes I'm like, But it's funny because speaking of cheesy, they have actually rewarded themselves in the next one. But Margarita, let's get to you. What did you think?
It was better than I expected. It definitely met my expectations of it being like a really cheesy, like early 2000s film. During it, I genuinely felt like I was watching a 2 hour long like cartoon special because it definitely felt really cartoony. There were moments where I was
Yeah.
just like, this feels like it would be in a cartoon. Like the whole wrestling scene, that came out of nowhere. I was like, I mean, it makes sense. It's definitely something I could see like a teenager who just randomly wakes up with like superpowers doing. It's like, oh, I'm gonna join a wrestling match to get money to buy a car. But I'm just like, it's just so out of nowhere. And I'm just like, I don't
It
know.
is. I mean, that's the beauty of filmmaking. But yeah. Also, do you guys know who played the wrestler?
No, I
No.
thought
Phone
it.
call?
Who was
She
it?
thought it was the Undertaker.
Close enough. Whoever.
They had that at the time.
Yeah, it was. That's actually Macho Man, Randy Savage. But you can't tell with his. Yeah. I didn't even know it was him. So like the first time, but yeah, it's actually him if you Google it. I would do an impression right now, but it's gonna be horrible. So let's move on. Alrighty. So overall, is there any other things you guys want to add on to Spider-Man 1? What's your kind of favorite scene? Everybody, if you guys could go, I'll start first. My favorite scene, I think is I want to say the end, as in the graveyard scene at the cemetery, because he really he manned the fuck up real quick throughout this whole movie, but then he's like, he already knew like I can't be with this lady, you know, and he had her where he wanted her. Like she's like, I'm for you, I want you so bad, and she's like, nah, fam. But yeah, that's mine. What about you guys?
Well, I think we totally went. We totally skipped over my experience rewatching it.
Oh no, well go ahead, add on to it. I thought,
But
go.
I mean, it's been a long time since I've watched this movie. I do have a big nostalgia factor of it, so like I absolutely love the movie. The jump scares, you forget that they're there. So I got scared a couple of times because I didn't see it coming, especially where he's having a flashback of him turning into the Green Goblin. And he just has this little like half a second of flashback, and it's just super loud.
Yeah, that one's the one that fucked me
But
up a little bit.
William Dafoe's acting is incredible. I think as a Green Goblin, both his physical acting and his voice acting, and just listening to that like freaking theme song, man, that freaking Danny Elfman theme song, man, and his music in this movie is just fucking incredible, man. But my favorite scene, I think, would have to be the graveyard as well, the final battle. I was actually commenting that it felt very brutal for the time, and for being like a superhero, like probably tailored to like children movie, because I mean that guy is just fucking getting his ass kicked, bro, and I thought it was pretty brutal, like a pretty brutal fight scene. And yeah, I mean, he kind of grows up really fast throughout the movie.
Yeah, he honestly just got his ass kicked really throughout the movie, but even then, yeah. But but you guys say for you both, it's the cemetery scene, or did you have a different scene, Kay?
Well, for me, I feel like some of my favorite scenes were probably with what's his name? William Dafoe. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Green Goblin.
The Green Gobby.
Yeah, where it shows him like kind of like spiraling, I guess, into like this whole like insanity and stuff, and how he's turning into kind of becoming the Green Goblin, because I really did like that guy's acting, so I thought he did a really good job, and they did a really good job casting him. And I think it was two scenes in particular. Like one of them was when he was like looking at himself like in the mirror and going on this monologue and everything. But yeah, I think those were probably my favorites.
Yeah, that scene where he's talking to himself, very psycho-ish, like Norman Bates type. Especially when the mask is on the recliner and he's kind of just talking to it.
Yeah.
Right after Thanksgiving.
I really like how like crazy, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We were commenting how you can kind of see his mental, I guess, decline throughout him getting the shot, and just getting strength and stuff, and then like becoming insane,
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. The green gobbler.
All right, moving on. Maggie, your favorite scene from the movie?
Any scene with Harry Osborn.
Oh, Jesus.
You're a Harry Osborn fan.
I should have saw that coming, but
I mean, it was gonna be at least one of us. I'm gonna be. It'll be me.
It's a very that movie. I mean, they put him on the scene. He was a lot of schoolgirl crushes back then. He's not an ugly man. Very, very handsome man. But we'll see if you feel the same after the next two movies. So
it's funny seeing them so young, but yet so old for the roles they're playing. I mean, freaking high schoolers, they were looking like fucking 35-year-old people, man. Like, especially like Flash Thompson and stuff. He looked like a grown ass dude. But yeah, it was fun seeing like James Franco like so young, and Tobey and all of them. Really, they all look young. I mean, Aunt May, I don't even know what she looks like now.
Probably dead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know actually. I've never seen anything over her passing away, but I hope not.
Oh yeah, true. I feel like it would have become a thing.
She's gonna come out in the new one.
It'll be good to see her again.
Yeah,
are we not gonna talk about Mr. Ben?
Mr. Uncle Ben. What do you want to say about Uncle Ben?
Uncle Ben, Mr. Uncle Ben Parker. What?
The tragedy?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact. I mean, I was telling. He just feels like in the other movies that we will go into with other franchises or actors, like he's not really a presence. I mean, he was only here for half the movie. I think he died. He dies pretty early on. Yeah. I think within this movie. Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid, even right now when I was watching it, like the death scene, even though it's quick and stuff, like it's pretty effective to me. Maybe you guys thought it was cheesy and stuff, but for me, it kind of gets me teary-eyed, when I see him dying and stuff. And just because Tobey was, or Peter Parker was like a total dick, right? The last thing he ever said to him was stop pretending he was his dad, and then little does he know that he's gonna die. And of course, he does the great line of, with great power comes great responsibility.
I knew that line, but
yeah, I mean, I like having Uncle Ben.
I was actually it's funny. I was thinking about that last night. I was gonna bring up the Uncle Ben. I was gonna wait a little bit, but you're right. In the other movies, there's hardly any reference to Uncle Ben. I can't say for sure in the Amazing Spider-Man ones. We'll get to that eventually, but I think too. I will bring this back up again, but I think the Uncle Ben story-ish is gonna have to come into play in No Way Home, especially if there's crossover, because well, I can't tell you guys yet because but once we'll bring this up again in Spider-Man 3. Okay, so just remind me, Uncle Ben, Spider-Man 3. And I think you're okay, well, I had this on here, so I won't. So but all right, so Spider-Man 2 came out in 2004, so it's just about maybe 2 years after the first one. Same guy, director Sam Raimi. And this one has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. But I feel like this one, Spider-Man 2, it's up there. It's a really good movie. Budget $200 million and even won an Oscar. So we're talking about Spider-Man being cheesy and this and that. And, it kind of is looking back at it now. But those cheesy effects back in 2004 won them the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. So this movie was the real deal.
Remind me what the first one, it had no tomato score. It did.
It had a 90.
Oh, it had a 90. Okay.
Yeah, so this is a 93, which is it's pretty up there. So I mean,
And it's some progress because we were talking about the CGI. You know, for the time being, it was good. I was actually gonna bring up that scene where Spider-Man goes into the burning building and he has this kind of encounter with the Green Goblin. And Goblin throws the little like bombs with knives flying around, and he does this whole like slow motion where he's avoiding them, which I think for the time was like a really cool scene, you know, like the slow mo and him avoiding all the knives flying around him until it cuts him. But overall, the CGI, you know, looking at it now, obviously it's like, oh, it's pretty cheesy, but I remember it having really big progress, you know, from going from Spider-Man to Spider-Man 2 and then the other ones. But I didn't know that they actually got an Oscar for it.
Yeah, they won. I didn't know that till last night when I was researching this. Yeah, they won an Oscar. It was even nominated for a good. I think it was nominated for like 8 Oscars, but it was nominated. I think or something. I could be half-assing, but it said the movie, not just in the Oscars, was nominated up to 40 awards, but it won the Oscar for best visual effects.
Which, you know, is a huge jump.
Which is true because I think this movie came out either after it. I think one of the Lord of the Rings had just came out, so it was either like the year before. They got lucky because I think if Lord of the Rings was in that, they probably would have lost.
Yeah, they wouldn't have won anything.
Yeah, but we'll get to that some other time. Okay, so Spider-Man 2, it is the debut of Dr. Octopus, played by Alfred Molina. German, I'll start with you this time. Same as last time. When was the first time? Do you remember any memories of watching this for the first time?
I'm pretty sure, honestly, that I didn't see any of these movies in the theaters, just because of situations. But I'm pretty sure that I happened to see all these movies through my cousins who had like, you know, like movies and things like that. So I don't really remember watching this movie. I think I haven't seen it like fully or like, you know, actually to sit down and enjoy it again in like really long time, many years. I think we actually kind of watched it at your apartment a few years ago, but we were not paying attention at all. We were just putting something in the background. But I know that it has probably my favorite scene in the whole like Sam Raimi trilogy, you know. But the presence of Dr. Octopus and the acting of Alfred Molina is out of this world, dude. I cannot see anybody else being Dr. Octopus. It's insane, man, the acting. And, you know, the movie gets better, I think, even in acting for everybody, you know, because Tobey was still like an up-and-coming actor, you know, really not known. So you can see him getting a little better at acting and the rest of the cast as well. But I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, I get goosebumps and chills every time I watch that scene. And sometimes I even watch it when when I come across it, like on Facebook videos or something. I got to watch the whole thing, bro. But I'm excited to watch this movie. I know it's really good. And I am going to say that it's probably, I mean, we haven't seen No Way Home yet, but it's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie, like, ever, out of all 3 actors.
Oh, that's a pretty big statement. I agree with you, though, with the Alfred Molina. Nobody else could play him, as well as J.K. Simmons, who plays J.J. Jameson. There's nobody else. There's nobody else on this fucking planet that can play that man. How do you even care?
Say that. I wrote that on my notes.
Yeah, there's
J.K. Simmons,
nobody.
There's nobody else I can see playing that character. He is the guy from the Daily Bugle.
Oh,
yeah. Well, the boss guy.
Yeah, the boss. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm happy to see them both back.
Yeah.
You know, this post the teaser trailer for No Way Home. I got chills, man, when I saw Alfred Molina back as Dr. Octopus for that ending part of the teaser trailer, and having that J.K. Simmons introduction at the end of the last Spider-Man Far From Home. What can I say?
That's when I knew. I was like, okay, they're really gonna start going into this direction. That was, for me, it was like the big turning point. But for UK and you as well, Maggie, believe you guys might have saw the trailer. What do you guys initially think is gonna happen? Do you guys see yourself? No, I don't want to say you guys are gonna like this movie more, but this is obviously gonna be probably the most popular one out of the 5 films we're gonna watch. But based on what you saw already, do you think the story of Peter Parker in this trilogy progresses, or do you guys think it's still gonna be one of those like kind of comic adaptation type thing, like what Maggie was saying, it was a little too cartoonish?
I definitely feel like it's going to progress his character a bit more. Just because it's gonna cause him to like have to juggle his actual life with like being a superhero. From what like I saw from the trailer, is gonna deal a lot more with like teen drama, teen angst, whatever. Of like Mary Jane being like, oh, if you look, well, technically they're not teenagers anymore, right? Like they graduated in the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
one.
I
They're,
think
like, adults.
I believe Spider-Man 2, they're like barely going to college and stuff, so it's that.
Well,
There's definitely a
anyways,
lot of
life drama. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, okay?
And yeah, I mean, I feel like it's gonna, like Maggie said, it's gonna deal with a lot of that, and like the whole like, I don't know, it feels like there's gonna be some kind of like friendship betrayal kind of thing going on over there with like James Franco, you know.
Yeah,
But I feel like based on the trailer, I feel like it looks like something that I would maybe like more, because it does look like it has like a lot of like action packed like sequences and everything. So
yeah, it definitely
I'm excited.
it's definitely more mature. You know, not as cartoonish comic as Spider-Man 1, but I feel like that cartoonish kind of aspect to Spider-Man 1 is what gives a lot of people nostalgia with that movie, you know, and it really is the first like Spider-Man film, like in
It
the
is.
big screen. You know? So they each have their own things, you know, but definitely Spider-Man 2 is more mature, and I can see you guys liking it more as well.
Yeah. What was I going to add? So for me, the first time I saw this movie, it was in a theater. I don't know if it was exactly opening weekend, but I remember specifically it was just me and my dad. And I remember this is one of the first movies, I think, maybe outside of Star Wars, whereas I actually like would uh know what anxiety was watching a movie, like the angst and the being nervous for a fuck. I've never felt that for any other movie until watching this one. Especially the scene where Harry's got Spider-Man on the couch and he's gonna about to, he wants to confront him. That's probably, I could already tell you, that's already my favorite scene of the whole film. But it might change after rewatching it. Alrighty, so any final thoughts about Spider-Man 2 before we wrap up and go ahead and we start watching the film?
No, he's dead, huh? Willem Dafoe.
Yes,
I was like, does he make any appearance at all? Because I really liked his character.
But, yeah, there might be a reference.
He got stabbed in the stomach, Katie. I don't think there's any way coming back from that.
Yeah, he murked himself pretty good. I don't think he's gonna come back.
He murked himself pretty well.
He suicided himself. But I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think there's any flashbacks. Maybe a reference or something, but I actually don't remember it. But yeah, in this universe, he dead. He's dead.
He dead.
I know in 3 they reference it again. I can't.
Yeah,
but part 2,
a pretty big part.
But part 2, he's just pretty Harry is just pretty upset that his dad's dead and he hates Spider-Man as much as the next guy. So, all right, guys. So we're gonna wrap this up. We are going to watch Spider-Man 2. All right, and we'll be back, guys, with our reaction. Okay, stay tuned. All right, guys, Spider-Man 2. Let me just say that was fucking fun. I really enjoyed watching this again. I watched it after Spider-Man 1. It was like, okay, you just kind of know already. But once you really rewatched it, I was like, man, this was a fucking great movie. You know what I mean? And this did deserve all the Oscar nods and the 93% Rotten Tomatoes. But overall, what did you guys think? Maggie, I'll start with you. What was your favorite part of the movie?
I think it was it's a toss-up between any scene with Harry Osborn or that elevator scene where like Spider-Man Peter just can't use his web anymore, and then so he like decides to take an elevator.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so random. And it's just that like that PR guy trying to hire him.
That's funny. Oh yeah,
Pictures
he's talking about how the suit rides up his crotch, and I remember. Yeah, I totally forgot about that scene when we watched it. I'm like, this is fucking good. Was it needed? No, but it was good. I was gonna tell you, what is your favorite Harry Osborn scene? Because we already know you like Harry Osborn.
I really like Harry Osborn.
She's got a whole character analysis essay.
We'll get into it. I got time.
I think it was yeah, my favorite scene was the one where pretty much Harry finds out that like Peter is Spider-Man, and he's pretty much talking about like how he can't believe that like he's Spider-Man and stuff, and he's just like, oh, like, what, you're Spider-Man, you killed my father. And Peter just hits him with, oh, there are more important things and stuff than like you and me right now. And I don't know, I felt like that was my favorite scene between both of them.
And you know what? Yeah. I know these guys are teasing you about Harry's character development. But let's talk his character development a little bit. Okay. Right. So in Spider-Man 1, Harry comes off as this guy that, he's just a kid, he's coming out of school, and he wants to live up to his father's expectations, He's kind of a goof, kind of like Tobey Maguire in his own way. He's not necessarily a nerd, but he's a goof. But how the way Spider-Man 1 ended. In Spider-Man 2, not only is he trying to live up to his dad, he fucking basically is his dad. He is the boss. So my question for you is, what are your thoughts on his character development, and what do you think is next for him now that he knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man?
Well, I mean, ultimately, Harry Osborn is Peter Parker's like foil character. Like he's gonna, out of all of the other characters, I feel like Harry is the only other one besides Peter who actually gets developed and stuff. Which, is saying a lot considering, or it isn't saying much considering like none of the other characters, even Mary Jane and stuff, who is technically considered to be like an important character, like she doesn't get any screen time or anything, or like any important screen time. But I don't know, I feel like they definitely went in a direction with Harry that I guess is kind of to be expected. I mean, he is supposed to be living up to like his father's expectations, and that was his whole thing. It was just trying to impress his father, and how better to impress his father than to pretty much become him, right? Like do exactly what he would have done.
He stepped
if
up
not
to it.
Even, if not even like push the barrier and stuff, which is what he was trying to do right now with Dr. Octavius and stuff, which was the whole like perpetual energy or whatever. I feel like the direction that he could be going in right now, if it's anything to go off of, like of how they're just having him follow in his father's footsteps, it's gonna be that. I'm gonna be so upset, but I feel like they're gonna end up killing him off, and I'm gonna be so sad.
Ooh, that's possible for you. There's a little bit of foreshadowing in there, and there's a little bit of, so that's good though. But you're definitely right about him. They really developed him more outside Peter. And that's funny you say that, because I emailed I sent him an article.
Jane Franco?
No, remember what I told you about? There's Kirsten Dunst just came out saying that although she was on the poster of Spider-Man 2, her financial gain that she got for that movie was nothing compared to what Tobey Maguire got. And there's a lot of backlash about that right now. And it is true though, but now that Maggie hit it spot on, she just became an actor. That's it, really. She
Mhm.
and she loved Peter, but you knew that part one. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's an
But she
interesting
was
thing.
she was real fast. She was real quick to hop on the other guy's. That her new boyfriend, fiance, that she ends up leaving for Peter at the end. Um,
What a
I
toxic
mean,
bitch!
her character is fine, as far as Mary Jane goes, but there's just no development kind of thing,
I
It's just
absolutely what she knew
screams really
she
loud.
knew she loved Toby, and she's like, I'm gonna get married with this other guy.
Oh my god. Me and Maggie
What?
were literally talking about that yesterday as we were watching the movie.
Who the fuck
were
does
like,
she
what
think
is
she
going
is?
it was super funny. Yeah.
It
She definitely is something else. Like it's really sad, but she's technically nothing without like Peter. She's
she
just
is
kind
it.
of
She is
there.
it. So I could see why. I mean, is it messed up? She didn't get as much money as Toby. If you're on the poster of the movie for the second one, and the biggest probably film of the trilogy, yeah, cut her a bone. But I mean, honest, and then on too, like I don't want to not disrespect anybody. There's probably some Kirsten Dunst diehards, but after Spider-Man, what has she done that she stood out besides Spider-Man? Like honestly, like I can't name 2 other movies without that she's in. I can't. So I
Yeah,
mean, Toby did. I know.
not to hate on her, obviously, like not to hate on her, but I honestly, I cannot name anything else that I've ever seen her in.
Yep, me neither. But all right. So let's go to you, German and Kay. Kay, what are your thoughts about Spider-Man 2? What was your favorite scene, and how do you feel so far watching these first 2 movies?
Yeah, well, I liked this one a lot more than I did the first one.
Agreed.
And you can tell like the improvements that they had with like special effects and everything. So that was really cool. And I was talking to German about how I really liked Dr. Octopus as like his fighting scenes that he had, like compared to the Green Goblins and everything. But I did like the Green Goblin a little bit more as a villain. But overall, this movie was a lot better for me. Like the first one was a little hard to get through, but this one was good.
It was, and they did a good job. You want to make the next film better than the other one, and they did.
Yeah, and I appreciated the storyline a lot more that this one followed with, like with him just trying to like figure out how to find that healthy balance, of like between his living his own life and like trying to help other people. I like that one.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. German, you rewatched this, arguably the best movie out of the trilogy. I mean, from one person to another who's already seen this movie. Just like me, what were your thoughts rewatching this again?
I mean, this is one of those movies. Where I have to watch it, man. Kind of like countless other movies out there that if I happen to come across it like on TV or something, like I gotta watch it. I can't just ignore it. It still is, rewatching it, it gives me some appreciation, for the amazing movie that it is for the time. And still, after rewatching it, is my favorite Spider-Man movie, like period. Might change, depending on what happens here a month from now. Actually, a month from today, exactly.
Is that right? Today is November 17th.
That might change, but as of now, still Spider-Man 2 is my favorite movie. And I was telling that to Katie prior to watching it, like, it's like, this is such a good movie, it's not as cartoonish, I guess. I mean, it's science fiction and stuff, but it doesn't feel as cartoonish as like Spider-Man 1. It definitely feels more mature. I appreciate the storyline, like Katie was saying, of him starting to have the conflict of being Spider-Man and also, his personal life is starting to kind of crumble, you know. So he has those tough decisions to make. The characters, man. I mean, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is just amazing, dude. Like, you know, I cannot imagine a different actor to play him. James Jonah Jameson, I mean, always great. You know, it's always such a for me. It's always like his scenes are always just funny to me. You know, like there's always something going on, and I'm excited to see him as well. I have to say, and I was talking to Katie about this. My favorite scene, and I'll ask you, you know, right now what your favorite scene is. But my favorite scene, as like overhyped as it is, or like as replayable as it is the train scene, man. The train scene battle, but to me, the part where, you know, he's passed out and they're carrying him, kind of like Jesus Christ, you know, like
Yeah,
carrying
he's a hero now. Be careful.
Yeah, and the musical score is playing at the same time. That shit, dude, it makes me so emotional every time. Like, I was talking to Katie about it because I was kind of like, when I was watching it, I was kind of like, you know, waiting for her reaction.
You crying?
Yeah, to see it. But no, that scene makes me, not as much anymore because I've seen it, but it still gives me like, it makes me want to tear up, you know.
Okay.
It may not have the same effect on other people, but that musical score, I think Danny Elfman, you know, in general for the Sam Raimi trilogy, did such an amazing job, dude. And I'm hoping that we get to hear that music again soon in this new movie.
Okay, that's good. For me, I'm gonna have to agree with Maggie on this one. My favorite scene is the Harry finding out Peter Spider-Man, but I do like, me personally, I do like Dr. Octopus more than Green Goblin in this trilogy. So the train scene was great. Obviously, it's fucking great. I'll say that. But I think a sleeper of a scene is the fight outside the bank when he tries to take Aunt May. I think that's a really good. You can really see the graphics better than the first one, and that being too, like, yeah, they did do a good job. I think once that first movie came out, they were good of catering to a more higher demographic age wise of the audience, but still keeping the elements of the original story from the first movie. You know what I mean? Because it's not as cartoonish, and but it was really good. The way they transitioned well. So overall, Spider-Man 2, I think it was great. Anything you guys want to add on before we talk about Spider-Man 3?
I realized I didn't say my favorite scene. So
I was literally
Oh, okay. Say I'm the worst. This is the worst. I'm the worst podcast host ever. So go ahead.
Okay, so one of my favorite scenes was probably that one scene when Dr. Octopus is in the hospital and he's like, they're like trying to, like, you know, get I think surgically removed.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good fucking scene. I totally forgot about that right now. Yeah.
Screaming, he starts throwing her that. Yeah, that
And he's just
good.
laying down, face down, ass up the whole time. He's just fucking. I wish I could fucking do that. I could do that right now.
Yeah, that seems like straight out of a horror movie, you know, for the time.
Yeah, that was really good. That was actually, yeah. I no disrespect to William Dafoe. We already had this convo. Great fucking actor. Alfred Molina, great actor. Me personally, I just think Dr. Octopus is great.
I gotta say, now that we're talking about Harry Osborn, I remember that scene where I think we all enjoyed it. You know, when the science experiment starts to go wrong and he's about to get crushed by something and Spider-Man scoops him up and saves him. You know, he's like, oh, this doesn't change anything, which it's gotta be conflicting to him, you know, like he hates Spider-Man, he wants him dead, and he just has his life saved by him. But then after the fact, when he's still trying to go after Spider-Man, and I forget who it is, his friend or his butler or something. He's like, "Oh, but he saved your life, sir." You know, he's like, "Oh, he only humiliated by touching me." Like that was hilarious, dude. And we were discussing whether that was intentionally funny or if it was meant to be serious. And I can't imagine anybody seeing that scene and not laughing. Like, you know, like it's hilarious.
Also, the breaking point of him at the bar. At that engagement party, and he bitch slaps
that
Peter.
was sad. Yeah.
That was the all-time low. That was good. That was great character development right there. But Overall, it was great
Any more
watching this fucking movie again. But all right, let's moving on. So Spider-Man 3. Let me go up and pull up my notes here. This came out in 2007. Wow, I really felt like it was like 2005 or something, but 2007. Unlike the other movies, this has a 63% Rotten Tomatoes. Directed by Sam Raimi again, so he did the whole trilogy. Budget for this film was $258 million. Pretty much same actors. Okay.
Do you remember if the budget was more or less? I do not recall the budget for Spider-Man 2.
I can't at the top of my head right now, but let's go ahead and let me look that up. Maybe we'll see real quick.
But yeah, I mean that jump at least in the
budget was 200 million.
Here.
So they had 60. They had more budget in this film. They had about $58 million more.
Chump change.
Yeah, that was Topher Grace's salary right there alone. Okay, Kay and Maggie. So Spider-Man 3 is kind of known for tarnishing this trilogy. Obviously, 93 to 63% is a big drop. I could tell you right off the back, there are some parts in this movie that's gonna make you cringe, like part 1. But no, I think it's more upsetting because this is the third movie. Had this been the first one, you kind of would have like, oh, we'll play it off. But I'll go ahead and start with you, German. I think this one is gonna be, I don't want to say more interesting, but it's just to see where we're at now with all the other Spider-Man movies, especially Tom Holland. It's gonna be kind of almost, in a way, a sense of a way relieving that we could watch this, knowing that there's other Spider-Man movies, because for a while, like, this was it. Like, this was the only Spider-Man movies, until Garfield came along. But as usual, German, do you remember specifically first time you watched this movie, or is it with your cousins again, like previously?
Yeah, it had to be. I have no memory of when I watched this movie, but I know I watched it probably when it came out, like with my cousins and things like that. 2007, man. I mean, what was going on at that time? How old was I?
I know I was 2007. I was like in 7th or 8th grade. I thought this movie came out way earlier than that, but yeah.
Yeah, it was right about that time that I was about to cross the border and come learn English over here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I had to watch it with my cousins, probably. Like I said, I don't have a specific memory of me watching it, but I remember being excited. I know you guys watched the trailer, so I guess we'll kind of discuss what I think of the trailer and see coming. I was very excited to see a certain character. As you know me, probably my favorite Marvel character ever.
We'll bring that up right now. You could say who. It's okay.
To see Venom coming to the screen. Very excited about that, dude. Even before that movie, like, I had always been like, he probably has been my favorite character since I was a kid. Seeing him in like Spider-Man TV shows and things like that. And then it was kind of disappointing. I have to say, his physical design of his face and everything, I like it better than the new Venom Tom Hardy movies.
Wow, that's a bold statement, but okay.
But the physical build is definitely way off. It's like you put me to play Venom. Like, I don't have the physique for it, man. But the actual design of his eyes
for yourself.
And things like that, I prefer a little bit more to the new Tom Hardy movies. But yeah, man, I mean, I know this movie was kind of like, completely brought down of Sam Raimi, because from what I knew, they had more stuff planned. Knowing what I know now about how the film came to be developed and all the conflicts that they had between the director and the studio and where they were planning to see it, you can kind of feel how jam-packed it was and how Sony, I think, was trying to ride the wave and squeeze as much cash out of they could. You know, you put Spider-Man and
Absolutely.
Venom. You put both of those names, you know, together. It's like people want to see it, you know, and it kind of created conflict. Obviously, as Sam Raimi specifically said that he didn't understand the character of Venom, but Sony, like a huevo, wanted to put him in the movie, and he didn't want to. Eventually, obviously, who wins? The people who pays the bills, you know. But I still enjoy the movie. It's definitely at the bottom of the three, but I still enjoy it. You know, it still has some pretty cool action sequences. I think, like if I'm watching it from a point of view of me just watching like a Spider-Man movie to see like, you know, action and things like that, I enjoy it. You know, if I start comparing it and dissecting it, then yeah, it's you can definitely see where things kind of went wrong. And like you said, there's scenes where it's kind of cringy and things like that. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing it, but it's definitely one that I could skip if I see it on TV.
Let's be honest, this one's probably going to be the hardest hit for me. Sisters, we saw the trailer. What do we think about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of like listening to you guys talk about it and then that Rotten Tomatoes like score. It's kind of disappointing because I mean, based on the trailer, when I watched it, it looked pretty good. Like I was like, oh, I'm interested in watching it. I mean, the only thing I can pinpoint is that was just kind of weird. Was how they just kind of threw that plot point at you about the, I think it was like the Sandman was the one that actually killed his uncle or something, and I was like, what? Like it was just confusing, you know. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I was like, it looks pretty good, like the action and everything in it, and yeah, like he mentioned like Venom being part of it now. I saw the black suit and I thought that's what it was, but then I was like, is it? I don't know. But now that he said it was Venom, okay, it makes sense now. So yeah, it looked really good to me, but I mean, based on what you guys are saying, I'm
yeah,
like,
I mean, don't let our, because we're seeing it from like very, I guess, hardcore fans of it, you know, this is your first time watching it and things like that. So maybe don't let our opinion, you know, because I still enjoy it. You know, you might very well enjoy it, or you maybe like notice things here and there, but
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, this is the first time I'm going to see this movie again from beginning to end. I've seen pieces of it like on TV and stuff. This is the first time I'm really gonna rewatch this. So I'm just gonna go in, I'm gonna watch it and see what happens. But Maggie, your thoughts on the trailer for Spider-Man 3 when you first saw it?
When I first saw it, I told Katie like right away. I was like 100%. Like I'm on the stance that this is poor writing. I'm like 100%. I was just like, no, I don't like where any of this is going. Call me call me biased, but I felt like they really did Harry's character like dirty with this one, just because I mean, like they've already kind of established that like he's going to be an upcoming like villain. He's taking over his father's mantle of like the Green Goblin, or at least he's going to try. So I'm just like, they have him as like a potential villain, but then they start adding all these other people, which is like, oh, the Sandman and stuff, and then like Venom, and it's just like, well, like at that point, like it just seems like they're kind of pushing him aside and stuff, and like not making him as big of a threat. And I mean, yeah, he probably isn't as big of a threat. I mean, he's technically still like, he's pretty much a kid and stuff by comparison of like his father and stuff. But I feel like they could have just done so much more with his character and like have it all be like based off of like the whole thing of like, oh, revenge and stuff, and like him being conflicted of like, oh, this is my friend, but at the same time, this is the same person who pretty much technically killed my father. It is just this whole thing, but I feel like they just really missed an opportunity with that.
That's funny.
I have to agree.
Yeah,
I have to agree. It had the potential to make this a great conclusion to the trilogy, or at least to that Harry Osborn, Tobey conflict, you know, arc. Maybe they should have only made Harry Osborn the villain, you know, like physically and things like that. Was he that much of a threat? No, but you know, the conflict of Tobey, like dealing with him as a friend and as a villain. I feel like they had a lot of a lot of potential, you know. But yeah, like you say, you kind of start throwing other big name villains. It kind of pushes him to the side for a lot of the story.
Yeah. For the trailer for me, rewatching it, I could tell you. Okay, so this movie came out during a really gray area in my life. I know exactly where I saw it. I saw it at the movie theater with me, my dad, my sister, and then my aunt, my dad's sister at that time. And I remember this is already a few years after my parents split, so we would go to the movies, and we occasionally would tell my aunt to come with us. I remember seeing the trailer for this at the exact same theater, and I remember going ballistic batshit when they teased Venom, and I was like, "Oh, it's Venom, it's Venom!" And these fucking dicks in the front of like the theater were like, You hear this fucking kid going crazy in the back? What a fucking lame at, you know?" I was like, "Damn, what the fuck?" But I remember, yeah. But then obviously once you see the movie, you're like, "What?" But yeah, I'm honestly gonna go a little blind into this one. So let's see how it comes out. Any last things, any predictions from you, Kay or Maggie? What do you think is gonna happen?
Me, you want to go?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Both of you guys eventually.
I mean, I'm still stuck on the whole Harry Osborn thing. With how like pushed aside he is, I hope it's not gonna happen, but I really feel like they're probably going to like have him be more of a comedic kind of like thing and stuff. I hope that's not the case. I really hope, but technically, like, oh, there's like other things that Spider-Man Peter is going to be dealing with, so like Harry's just not really going to be like that big of a plot point, and I wouldn't surprise me if they had him become like comedic relief essentially of like, oh, like a cartoony villain, like he's trying but he keeps failing. It's just like, oh, I hope not.
That's funny. The next episode, I'm gonna tell you something because it's fucking a little too coincidental. But all right, guys. So yeah, Spider-Man 3. We're gonna go ahead and watch it, and then we are going to talk about the Andrew Garfield movies. And you guys have what's up? You guys got something to say?
Now you totally skipped Katie again.
Oh no, it's fine.
Oh, I did. Jesus, Kay, I'm sorry.
No
Wow.
worries.
Let's rewind it. Okay, go back.
No, I was just gonna say that. I mean, I would hope that they would kind of give like some kind of closure to the story with Harry and everything that's going on with him, and like Maggie's saying, they don't just kind of push him to the side. And I mean, I would hope that they would stay friends after this, but I don't know. I don't know if it's possible. He killed his dad, but.
You know what? You know why I skip you? It's because you two are like, since you guys are like together, like in the box, then you guys are like a unit at this point. Like I don't see you guys ever separate, so I'm like, oh, you guys, you know. So, but that's also that's a little bit of me defending myself, but at the same time, yeah. Honestly, but I promise I will not do that again.
Or I have to say, right now watching the trailers, what a difference in how trailers were and are now. Yeah. You know, like for example, I feel like these older trailers gave away very key plot points of the movie. For example, that twist where, you know, Sandman is the guy that killed Ben Parker. Like they could have totally saved that for the movie. Yeah. You know, and like a shocker, and like they just threw it in there. I do gotta say that they do show the symbiote, you know, but they don't actually show Venom in the trailer. But yeah, and now having the trailers now, it's like we're waiting for them to give us what we want to know, and now they're like, yeah. They edit trailers to fool us. It's just crazy where it's been and where it's at now, you know.
All right, guys. Spider-Man 3. We made it. I'm happy for you guys. Round of applause for you guys. You guys actually watched all. Yeah. Golf clap. Okay. So I don't want to say a lot to say, but there's a lot of things running in my mind, especially when I was watching it. So let's go to Kay first. So Kay, you did it. 3 movies. First of all, before we get to Spider-Man 3, how do you feel overall about the trilogy of Tobey Maguire?
I felt like it was better than I thought it was gonna be. Like, it wasn't too hard to get through, like I enjoyed it. So
That's good. And then you, Maggie, how'd you feel about the trilogy overall?
It was fine. I liked it. Would I like rewatch all 3 of them? No. Probably
Yeah,
not.
I think
probably.
yeah. Unless it wasn't German pushing for this, as much as I'm excited for No Way Home, I would have probably never watched these 3 like this again. So, but I'm glad I did because it refreshed my memory, and there are good parts to this. But German, what do you think of rewatching Spider-Man 3?
It's great, man. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I haven't seen these movies in a long time. I'm obviously hyped for the possibility of Tobey Maguire coming back as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. And it's been a while actually since I've been wanting to kind of rewatch these movies. But Kay never wants to see movies with me. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, so it was nice actually spending time like watching the movies, like actually like watching them instead of like being on our phone kind of thing, just playing them in the background. Very enjoyable though. It was very fun. Looking forward to the rest.
All right. So I feel like naturally we're not really one to talk shit, but I feel like this section of the episode is probably just going to lean towards the negative of this film. So let's start with the positives first. Kay, what was your favorite part of Spider-Man 3? Favorite scene or favorite anything?
Well, one of my favorite scenes was probably the ending fight scene with all 3. Even though I did feel it was a little rushed, but I did like appreciate the effects and stuff that were used in that part. So I thought it was pretty good.
Okay. And you, Maggie?
My favorite scene was probably the scene where he was fighting Sandman in the train with like the 2 trains coming and stuff.
Oh,
Like
okay.
they were in between them. It was fun.
And you, Senor Bully Maguire?
My favorite scene, and I know I've said it in the last 2 episodes, but I gotta give it to Danny Elfman for the musical score. It's probably not the best scene in the movie, but it's the one that I enjoy the most when it's towards the end where he's getting his old suit from under the bed and opening the suit and his actual like original theme song is playing.
Okay.
Something about that music just makes me like kind of emotional or like gives me chills when I hear it. So that's a very good scene that I appreciate throughout the movie. And I was telling them like, well, we'll get into the movie, but it's the first time in that whole movie where that song plays to kind of signify that he's coming back to normal after everything that went down the first 3/4 of the movie. But yeah, that'll probably be my favorite scene.
So for me, speaking of emotional, we'll get into Mary Jane, but I honestly think the scene where Harry's forcing her to break up with Toby, I think that was a really good scene at the park. I think that was the peak of that movie right there. It's like, fuck, dude, how the fuck is it? How the fuck are they gonna get out of this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was watching the movie. I was kind of reading into it a little bit. Not my facts ain't gonna be 100% straight, but they're pretty much eligible to be credited. So this movie took 2 years and 10 months to make. Usually films, I mean, I'm not saying films don't take 2 weeks to film, but that's kind of a lot of time. Also, we know that Spider-Man 2, the visual effects were great, and they ended up winning an Oscar for it. Whoever was in charge, I believe it was a female, I can't remember the name, decided to leave for Spider-Man 3 and ended up doing something else. Now, you can tell some of the graphics in this movie were not really the best compared to Spider-Man 2. Yes, they were more really matrixy, and I felt like the scenes where him and Harry are fighting. I don't know if you guys seen Lord of the Rings, but it had these graphics where like it reminded me of Gandalf fighting that fucking I can't remember, dragon or whatever the fuck thing it was. It was really, I don't know. I don't want to say choppy, but the graphics were just a little like it's just one step back. And then with that, the timing, there are some parts where the editing is actually not that great. This movie, the Rotten Tomatoes was in the 60s. So with all of what I said, and based on what you guys seen, I'll start with Kay. Kay, what do you think went wrong with this movie? Why do you think this movie's a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, for me, I would say that it probably got that score, like, because to me it felt really rushed, and like they were trying to add a lot of things into one movie. Like, I feel like they could have definitely like given some of the villains that were added into this movie like their own movie to develop their story more. Like Sandman, I feel like he could have had his own movie and like to really develop the character and his story and really make you, because I feel like he was meant to like have more of an emotional impact with his story about his daughter and everything. But like I didn't really feel anything like watching it or anything, because I felt like they just kind of like threw him at you. But at least for me, that's why I think, yeah, because it was rushed.
Okay. German?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree. I know that when we were watching it, we did notice right away, you know, because one of the first things that happens is the fight scene with Harry. That the graphics and CGI, it was just like, wait, like what's going on? Yeah, like it went from like over here with Spider-Man 2 to like,
and it was in the dark
know,
too.
Like,
A lot of these scenes were in the dark. It wasn't that great.
Yeah, like Sharknado kind of like CGI, you know, or like the fire and stuff. It just looked bad. And it is obviously, you know, it seems like everything got thrown together, like just not well at all, you know, like I have to agree, Sandman, I feel like he could have had a much more emotional role, because, you know, they kind of throw him in, he's escaped from jail, he's got this sick daughter, and that's kind of why he's trying to get money and stuff. And then, oh yeah, by the way, he killed Uncle Ben and not the other guy. And it's like, okay, well now Spider-Man has a reason to go, you know, and then he's gone for like most of the movie until like almost like 3/4 of the end, where you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Like he's here, you know, after he has a fight with Spider-Man. And then at the very end, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like 30-second conversation, like I forgive you, man, you know, and he just, you know, becomes that's yeah. So it's kind of like it's kind of like such a wasted opportunity with him. And obviously Venom, you know, like he's probably one of the reasons why this movie was like anticipated at the time, but he literally doesn't show up. I mean, the symbiote and like the black suit is there like throughout the whole movie, but like the actual character of Venom getting attached to Eddie Brock and stuff, it happens within like 30 minutes left of the movie, you know. And this is like a 2-hour plus movie, you know, where it's like, is this really how, like at the time they're gonna introduce him? Like he could have his own movie or movies, you know. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like there was so much conflict, where I felt like there was so much conflict between knowing a little bit of that backstory. You can not only after you kind of look into it, but you can see it where it's between the writings all over the place, you know.
It is.
Where yeah, and then randomly there's just scenes where he's just like emo out of a sudden, and he's dancing and he's doing the whole piano jazz bar.
Oh,
like,
well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And it's like, and there was a point where we had a lot of fun watching it. We felt because we were like laughing and stuff, a lot of stuff, it was more enjoyable to us. But if I was watching it like maybe like alone or something, I would be like, this movie's dragging on for way too long, man. Like, where it's just comical at some points. And I didn't like the way that the direction that they took Peter Parker in this movie, because for most of the movie, he's like just extravagant and like just kind of like an asshole, you know? And that's not the Peter Parker that we've gotten in the last 2 movies. So I didn't like where they kind of took him for most of the movie and then kind of trying to make us remember like, oh yeah, he's a hero, he's a good guy with like 20 minutes left, you know, when this whole movie is doing a lot of questionable things. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely my bottom one of the 3 movies that they made, and I can see why things didn't work out after.
Okay, so Maggie, before I get to you, I'm gonna say a few things. Okay, so did you notice the whole time in this movie, not one time did they say the word Venom? They never did. I watched this movie in captions, and even it'll say Venom, like oh Venom something, but they never officially said the word Venom.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, they don't watch Venom.
They pretty much just called it a symbiote, right? Like
Yeah,
that was it.
exactly. That was
They're
it.
just like,
Symbiote.
oh.
And then going back to Kay, what Kay said, they did try to like end this, like putting everything onto one movie. They were trying to please everybody. They didn't want to disappoint anybody. And it ended up not working. This movie really reminds me of the last Skywalker, the last Star Wars movie that came out. They had all these things, and they're like, you know what, we're just gonna add this, and then hopefully, and there was just too much bouncing off, and it did not pay off. Another thing I was gonna say. So okay, let's get to the dancing. I understand what they were trying to do with the symbiote to show how it affects people, but like what you said, Venom didn't really pop up for like the last half hour, 40 minutes of the movie. I think instead of having Tobey Maguire look like an asshole and the dancing part when he's getting the suit, okay, it was a little cringe, but I think they topped it. The scene with him and Mary Jane at that bar or whatever when he takes Gwen on a date, that was a bit too much. I think instead of using that time towards that, they could have developed Venom even more, or even a little more like sense of character development for the Sandman. But I think Venom really needed it. Because looking at it, Topher Grace wasn't really a bad Venom. Yes, he wasn't. He was a little skinny little version. He was a Venom off Wish, but it wasn't really bad. If they did really develop him a little more, and I think it would have made sense. I think it was just bad that Topher Grace. It wasn't his fault necessarily. I think he played the asshole Brock really well. I think he played it better than Tom Hardy because Brock was supposed to be a fucking asshole, and he played that perfect. But yeah, this movie, like that point, like that scene earlier when they were at the park, it was just like peaking and peaking. I'm like, wow, this was really better than I thought. And then just Toby starts teasing that bad guy look, and it wasn't as bad, but then after it just went like slowly, like sadly to just decrease. And then by the time it got to the part where he's trying to get rid of the symbiote, I was already like, I was unattached to the movie. I'm like, I'm just going to watch it for analysis at this point, but it just really got really bad. But one thing I want to talk about character wise, Maggie. So it's no secret you have a thing for this Harry Osborn guy. What were your thoughts about how they used it? What were your thoughts about how they used him in this movie? First, I'll start it off saying I think the way they had him go in a coma, that's very lazy writing. I understand trying to avenge something happened during production. They were like, you know what, this Harry Osborn goblin thing's not gonna work. So we're just gonna like try to, I don't know what, but what are your thoughts on Harry Osborn in this film?
Definitely. I was very upset. I was very upset with how they treated him. Like I said it before and stuff about like, oh, like how I thought they were going to make him out to be this like cartoony character, like villain character and stuff. They kind of did. It's ultimately what they ended up doing, because the only times that he was conscious to be a villain and stuff, like all of those moments and stuff, like there would be like little brave like sparks of like points where it's just like, oh, like maybe he is a threat and stuff, like maybe he can like actually hurt Peter and stuff. But then like, I don't know, you have him out here getting like knocked out by poles and stuff, or like getting like literally like thrown into the wall and stuff and like knocked out like instantly. And it's just like, well, like at that point, like clearly not taking his character seriously and stuff. Like he's not a serious threat, and they're like not making him out to be a serious threat. And I'm just like, literally out of all the characters, you would feel like Harry would pose a serious threat, because literally he's the only other character besides, I guess, like Mary Jane, that knows that Peter is Spider-Man, and like he knows his weaknesses, being like Mary Jane and not Aunt May and everything and stuff. So you would think that like they would try to do something with that and be like, oh, like he's actually an actual villain who knows like the superheroes like actual like alias and stuff and all that jazz. But like, no, they just pushed him out to the side. They're like, we'll give him a coma, call it a day. It's fine. And I'm like, no.
I think had they done something where when he grabs Mary Jane, like when William Dafoe comes back into the picture, had they got rid of that first Green Goblin fiasco with him and Toby, I think it would have been better for him to actually show up as the Goblin halfway through the movie, not necessarily right away. I understand they teased it in Spider-Man 2, but they could have waited a little more, especially with Sandman coming into the picture right away. And obviously we knew Venom was coming. Just with Harry Osborn, I mean, I don't know what they were trying to do with him. He was a really bad wrestling villain. Like, it's just like, yes, no, yes. Like, it just, that scene where he's telling Toby that he's the, the other guy or whatever. I don't know if you noticed. Did you see he had like a fucking lazy eye in that scene? The whole time I was like, what's wrong with your eye, bro? Because when he turns around and he goes like that, he's totally fine,
Yeah, no, it's like we totally noticed that, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, I can't. What the hell's going on?
So hard. You had a lazy eye and everything.
Yeah, I was like, I just wanted to poke the screen. I was like, hey, buddy, like, what the hell? But just little stuff like that. It's just, it wasn't. I don't know. Like, they dropped the ball with one person. They did drop the ball with in a way where Mary Jane Watson is one of the most toxic bitches I've ever seen on fucking any Marvel fucking shows. I think that's why there's all this stuff going on. But what the fuck was up with Mary Jane? She's supposed to be this lovable character. Everybody's like fantasized about. I didn't. I fucking hated her. Rewatching this whole series, I fucking hated it. I hated Mary Jane, dude.
Yeah,
like
dude,
even before Harry realized who he was again and remembered everything, this bitch is over here trying to make out with him, making omelets and stuff. And I'm like, and she's like, I gotta leave. I was like, it wasn't Harry's fault. He technically right there, his memory was,
yeah.
It takes two to tango. I understand. But Mary Jane was been like this. It's the first fucking movie. The second one, oh, Toby, I love you, but I'm gonna get married. So, figure that out. And then, you know what? I'm not feeling good. I'm gonna go make omelets with Harry. And Harry's like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Like he was in a very vulnerable spot, like he's over here like barely remembering who he is at that moment. And then it's just like the her character is like all over the place, dude. I mean, like you said, she's supposed to be this like Spider-Man's like, love interest and like a lovable character that everyone like, cares for, but it's just like at this point it was just so annoying sometimes. And like or what bothered me was like, I understand obviously she wants like to feel the comfort and everything, but at the end of the second one where she finds out that he's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and she's like, oh, he's like, there's always gonna be threats and things, or I'm Spider-Man, so he's gotta like sometimes he's gotta go like save lives or do whatever he's gotta do, And in this movie, where obviously she's going through a hard time because she got kicked out of the play and whatnot. And then, they're talking in his room because she's not feeling well, and like the police radio is going off, so he's gotta go, And it's like you guys literally like you seem on board with the fact that he's not always gonna be like able to like cater to your needs, because obviously he's Spider-Man, so he's got things to do, but she still needs that comfort, and I understand it. But that just bothered me so much. Or it's like, dude, then leave him alone then, like go with the other guys that you already had, like, or whatever,
Mary Jane's character, I think in this movie, ruined the movie. Yes, the Toby scenes and the symbiote thing. No, Mary Jane ruined this movie, and that is my opinion. I just think, dude, I got to the point when as soon as they were making omelets together, I'm like, I kind of remembered what's gonna happen. I just stood up like with a fucking cringe. I'm like, I can't fucking do this, dude. Like, oh, I was so fucking mad, dude. I was pacing around the living room watching this. But
Man,
my God.
you look like you got some thoughts.
I do, because I disliked Mary Jane's character as much as the next person, but I feel like making her out to be the villain isn't like. I don't think it's necessarily like the hot take that y'all think think it is, because what's it called? Like, because I think what went wrong is the fact that the writers tried to have Mary Jane become more of her own person. Like literally, like in the first two movies and stuff, she was the only thing her character revolved around was Peter, and pretty much like, and I guess like hints of like being in an abusive family. But then what's it called? Come the third movie, they try to make her to be like this independent character, and like that's all great and good and stuff. But I feel like they did that also at the stake of having Peter become like this horrible like boyfriend, or this horrible person. And I feel like because you two are so like connected and in love with this character and stuff, I feel like you guys like easily overlook like the fact that like Peter technically was the one who pushed her into like not really caring about their relationship, because I mean he was the one who like started it first and everything. Like he kissed Gwen Stacy at the like literally at the festival.
Okay, I understand too, but you don't hold that in. You address that right away. You don't go to my best friend's house and make fucking omelets. You know,
she literally tried talking to him.
What? Go ahead, Kay.
Yeah, he did address it. Like she did address it like at the dinner, you know, when he was about to propose, and he totally like made her feel like she was crazy. Like why I don't understand what I did. Why did that bother you? You know, like it's like, dude, you kissed another girl right in front of me. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like
he fucked up. Yeah. I'm not saying he's not perfect. He fucked up for sure.
Yeah, we gotta go into Peter Parker next, you know, because we haven't spent time
I got
discussing.
a lot of thoughts on him.
But
I'm not done with this Mary Jane lady yet. Okay, you don't fucking interrupt me. Okay, we're gonna shit on her right now. Okay. But no, he fucked up for sure. They were obviously were having problems. Yeah, they said, "Oh, we'll make it work." It wasn't really working. Now, towards the end, and we'll get to Peter Parker right now. I understand. I didn't really get the last scene. Obviously, he goes to see her again, you know, and they embrace. I don't get the embrace. I think he should just pop the question there at that point. And also, okay, it's not necessarily Mary Jane's fault in this one, but she just gives him a hug, you know? Like, oh, yeah, okay. But the writers also went to the well too many times. Every fucking movie, who does Peter have to do? Fight the villain, save Mary Jane. All fucking 3 movies. And this one wasn't even, and the second one was, it was literally the same as the third. Oh, we know Peter loves MJ, so we're going to take MJ. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
yeah.
Also that scene with Harry helping him, I get it. That was cool to see him team up. At the same time, it was just sloppy. You know what I mean? I don't know. The last half of this movie is obviously the part that storyline with Rotten Tomatoes score, but it could have made it work. Honestly, if they just tweaked a little bit of some of the things, this movie would have been great. And honestly, yeah, that's my opinion on Mary Jane at the end of the day. If people like Mary Jane, then that's cool. You know what I mean? If they purposely said, oh, we want people to be upset with Mary Jane, they did it because I'm fucking upset with her. But go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, that storyline with Harry, I feel like it was too rushed too, you know, like if they already knew ahead of time that they were going to try to kill him off, because it's my understanding that they were planning to make more movies. Obviously, with this one, there's a lot of conflict between director and Sony, you know. But I feel like if they already kind of knew that they were gonna try to kill Harry off at some point, like this movie was not it, man. Like to do it like so rushed, you know, at the end, and it kind of leaves you with a bad like taste where like that ending scene where Harry dies, sacrificing himself for Peter. I feel like it was meant to be like a lot. It's obviously it's supposed to be like a really emotional scene.
I would have killed both of them, honestly.
Honestly, yeah. If they already knew that maybe no other movies were gonna happen, just have them both dead, or something. But it just felt like that scene was supposed to be so emotional, But it just gives you like it left me with a little bad taste, like where like after everything that they've gone through in the last 2 hours, you kind of don't feel as bad for Peter, like that he's crying and all this stuff because his best friend. Because it's like you were kind of not being the bestest friend either, like yeah, it's just like this. It was so bad. Like I feel like they shouldn't have killed him off. At least leave the door open for something else, But and then Harry sacrifices himself, and he's over there like with Mary Jane dying, and at the same time Peter is with Sandman trying to take care of that business, and that feels rushed on its own. And then it's like, oh yeah, he's dying. Let me go check him out, and they have like 30 seconds to like say goodbye. So it's just didn't fit well. In my opinion, I just didn't enjoy it.
They probably thought it looked good on paper, but when they did it, they were like, "Oh, this isn't gonna work."
It just didn't feel like I didn't feel that emotional impact that I think they were trying to go for, just because of all the editing that they did throughout the rest of the movie.
Getting back to the editing part, so I read that scene. My brother in the back, when Mary Jane's in the car falling onto webs. And she's supposed to be screaming. There's actually parts of her laughing that they got on video. And then there's a part too where when Peter goes to confront Harry after he makes MJ break up with him, you could kind of see him doing his hair, Peter, in one of the scenes, like he goes like that real quick. You can see him looking. But yeah, it's this movie was just just that last half, like you said too, especially that last 30 minutes. It's really, now that I think about it, it's really like the last Skywalker from the Star Wars movie. But Kay, I know you said you wanted to talk about Peter, so let's talk about Peter. What do you have to say? Address the room.
Okay, so I mean, from the very beginning, I tell German like I'm not the biggest fan of Peter Parker in these movies. But this last movie, I feel like they just completely like ruined his character completely, like it's like a complete 180. Like he is this supposed to be this likable character, regardless of what I think, he's supposed to be this likable character, and then they turn him into like this jerk where you're like, you end up like questioning all his decisions. And it's like he's not even like just a jerk when Venom comes into play, like he's a jerk from the like very beginning of the movie, which I'm like it was just completely like, I was like unnecessary, like I think, and if this movie like showed me anything, like, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Mary Jane either, like I don't like her either, but if it showed me anything, it's like that Peter and her were just not meant to be together, like they should just not have tried.
Toxic.
Yeah, like I'm like, bro, like she clearly needs like other like more emotional needs, I guess, and he was clearly too busy for that, like I get it, he's like Spider-Man, he's trying to do his whole thing and stuff, and I'm just like, like they should not have been together, especially when he like reacts like that to like her like expressing her like, like emotional needs and like what she thinks of like his decisions and everything. Like he just totally gaslighted her. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right to an extent. Yeah, I mean, I knew she had to understand he was Spider-Man, but at the same time, it goes both ways. He needed to understand, like, you really want her in her life, you got to keep her, because you're complaining about how you wanted to be with her in part one, and she's like, the same thing too with the first movie. Well, I can't be with you, dude. Like, you set it up like she wants to be with you, and now that she is, you're like, people just get complacent. But that's just in general. I feel like Maggie's canon for Mary Jane and Harry, that they should have been together or something. But
I really liked that scene where they were dancing in his kitchen. I was a fan.
Okay.
Literally I was telling German and Katie and stuff. I was like, like logically, I know that like that they weren't necessarily like the best couple when they were together and stuff. I was like, but that one scene, like those like 15 seconds of them just dancing. I was like, they look happy.
They should have gave Peter and MJ more scenes like that. Just them, every time they were together, it was either like a fight or it was too lovey-dovey. You know what I mean? Like the beginning. What a cute scene when they're on the web and they're, trying to make out right there. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Yeah, Harry and MJ kind of, like you said too, they had better chemistry on film. Even though, and maybe that's just the story or whatever, but I felt like, yeah. Also too, I think I get it, like Mary Jane's supposed to have red hair, this and that, all the characteristics, but they kind of made her feel, I don't want to use the word dirty, but they just kind of made her feel like they didn't do her right, dude. They should have developed her more and more and more. They did a really good job the first movie because they were, I think that was their best like overall performance as Mary Jane. Part 2 was good. Like I said, that's when the toxicity began. But yeah, I just, there's good to the trilogy, but everybody's going to be talking about the bad. So I'm kind of glad if Tobey does show up in this one, he gets to redeem himself a little bit. That he could have probably this whole time. I've never seen anything talk about Spider-Man at all ever since these movies. He's done a few movies, and honestly, he's been quiet really ever since. So for him to come back and do this, I think it's going to be great to fix anything that he might felt had been tarnished. And also probably the paycheck is fat.
Very
also to this trilogy out of all the other movies, well, I might be wrong after watching the Amazing Spider-Man ones with Garfield, but these movies really stood true to the comics for the most part. What they should have done, I think, is probably killed off Gwen in this movie, just like the other movies. But that would have involved Harry and everything, and that's just something else. But all right, guys. Well, congrats. Once again, we made it through the first 3 movies, Tobey Maguire. I hope everybody listening to this really enjoyed it. We're gonna do the Andrew Garfield movies next. I'm gonna kind of go into this blind. I think I saw this movie randomly once in my living room, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't remember much. And I didn't even see part 2, so I don't know if you guys have as well. I don't think you guys have. I know German, I think, probably did. What are you guys' thoughts about watching a new trilogy? How do you think? Talking about what went wrong with this trilogy, that they're gonna want to not make the same mistakes in this one. Do you think they're gonna really rely on these 3 movies to send a blueprint out, or you think it's just gonna be a fresh total spin?
Well, I think that it's gonna be like I think it's gonna be like a fresh spin on it, honestly. Like I mean, I don't, because I think I did watch them, I think like a long time ago. So I really don't remember like anything about it. But I feel like they're gonna kind of disregard like these past movies and pretend they didn't happen, kind of thing, and just do their own thing, kind of. So.
Yeah, because eventually Marvel had to be like, yeah, let's redo the Spider-Man movies again, Maggie, any your initial thoughts going into the Andrew Garfield movies?
I hope it's a fresh start. I mean, there's definitely gonna be certain things that like they're probably gonna be following. Like I know that that I know that Harry Osborn is in these movies, and I just really hope that like I don't know, I'm excited to see how different he is.
Okay, I honestly don't remember Harry in these movies, so that's.
I'm pretty sure he's in these movies. I vaguely remember.
German.
Well, after watching these 3 movies, which are very dear to my heart, it would be kind of good to see like just a complete reboot, and see what their take is on, Peter Parker and Spider-Man and whatever conflicts he has in his life. I know I did see the first one, The Amazing Spider-Man. but I don't think I ever paid too much attention to it. Like I never had anything against like them redoing Spider-Man or like that it's not Tobey Maguire or anything like that. You know, it's just I was telling Katie the other day that I just don't remember. Maybe I wasn't paying attention or something, but I don't remember. Me personally, there probably was, you know, but I don't remember any like hype or any promotions for these movies or anything like that, you know, because I don't even remember when they came out, kind of thing. And I was already probably in high school or something, but I have zero memory of me like seeing any promotions or anything, or me like, oh, I gotta go watch Spider-Man, honestly. And then I definitely didn't watch the second one. I know, you know, there's
Didn't
two
watch
movies.
the second one either.
I did not watch the second one. I have no idea when it came out. And like I said, it's not like, oh, it's not Toby, so I'm not gonna watch it, or it's not like these villains, so I'm not gonna watch it. I just honestly don't. I don't know. Maybe I was too busy or whatever, but I don't remember any like hype about it or anything about it. Really, they just kind of. Next thing I knew, they were kind of like there, you know, already for me to watch. And yeah, it'll be kind of good to see a new take on the characters. See where they take the story. Like I said, I never seen the second one, so I don't know where his story like kind of took on after the first one. And I would like to see where it kind of left off, to see what they were planning to do with him, and maybe where it could lead to come, you know, this new movie in December.
Yeah. And I think noted. I mean, I'm gonna say Andrew Garfield, but it's not his fault. But maybe the way Spider-Man 3 kind of ended, a lot of people weren't really excited for this to begin with, because they're like, oh, they're just gonna ruin it even more. But I remember briefly when I watched this, I said, oh, this wasn't bad. This was actually good, and it was fresh. I remember it being, you know, a nice spin on it. But yeah, I haven't seen part 2, so I really don't know. But either way, too, even if part 2 is great, you know, just a few years later, they did it again with Tom Holland. So, I mean, I think Garfield was in a really shitty spot. So we'll see how his movies come out. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and watch the first Andrew Garfield movie, and we'll be back next episode. All right, guys. Thank you guys once again. All right. So we're going to go ahead and sign off. Later.